Folks, Black Star Network is peace.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, today's Thursday, March 12, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Folks, what the hell's happening with this economy? Donald Trump is absolutely destroying the economy with what's happening in Iran. Oil now more than $100 a barrel. What can be done to stop him? In addition to that, Republicans keep pushing the SAVE Act. I'm going to talk with Congressman Al Green about that, about how awful that is going to be for black folks and others. In South Carolina, longtime Congressman Jim Clyburn says he is running for an 18th term in Congress to maintain his position as one of the last remaining leaders of his generation in the House Democratic leadership. A bunch of folks on social media are mad and upset. I'm going to tell y'all why they're wrong. In a troubling incident, a black woman was forcibly removed from her car by a Texas police officer. We have the viral video and going to be joined by her attorney, Lee Merritt, for an exclusive interview. Donald Trump's plan to shut down and renovate the Kennedy Center may be halted after a federal judge heard arguments regarding the issue. We'll be joined by Ohio Democratic Congresswoman Joyce Beatty to talk about why she filed the lawsuit to stop the renovation. In tonight's Black Star Network Marketplace, the CEO and co-founder of the original Unbraider will join us to discuss their product design to make it easier to remove your braids. I don't have that issue. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All the Save America Act, Republicans are saying, how dare Democrats oppose this? What's wrong with voter ID? Democrats and Republicans all say it's all good. But the reality is the Save America Act is not just about voter ID. I told y'all before, I have a Texas driver's license. What Republicans are saying is my Texas driver's license not good enough. I got to get another ID. Okay, now it's a passport. Now they're putting, oh no, you got to prove you're a citizen. Wait a minute. Why do I have to prove I'm a citizen? You already have laws on the books that keep folks who are not citizens from voting. It's a sham. And they are trying to play the okie doke. Congressman Al Green of Texas joins us right now. Glad to have you here, Congressman. And now we got a battle going on in the Senate. Donald Trump, they're trying to force senators to end to end the filibuster or make it a talking filibuster. You got longtime Texas Senator John Cornyn, who was against that. Now all of a sudden, because he's trying to kiss Trump's ass to get an endorsement again his runoff against Ken Paxton, now he says, oh, now he's for it. The reality is that the Save America Act is trash and has no business being made law.
I concur with you. And I do concur with you about people taking positions for political expediency. This act would not allow me to vote with this piece of identification. This is the piece of identification that I use to vote for issues of war and peace, trillion-dollar budgets in Congress, but I can't use this identification to vote. I tested the system myself. I went in without a driver's license, and I said, I want to vote. And they required me to get a birth certificate. I sent off for my birth certificate. I have sent money, and I have not received it, and that has been years ago when I tested the system. The point is, it is not as easy as some people might think for people to get a birth certificate. There can be all kinds of complications associated with it once you get into the process of trying to acquire it. And if you do acquire it, your birth certificate may not align with what you have been identifying yourself with over the years. Women, when they marry, they sometimes will drop their name that they have, their given name, and they'll then accept another name, their husband's name, for example. And when they do that, their name, the last name, won't align with what they have on the birth certificate. So as a result, we find people are going to be having these problems registering to vote. And then if you register and the registration is done inappropriately, the person who registers you can be sued. So there is a private right to sue people who perform the registration and they don't do it properly. It imposes a lot of burdens on people that are unnecessary, especially given that we don't have a large number of people who are alleged to have voted improperly in this country. We are fighting a fight that doesn't exist, but we're creating a fight such that people will have to fight their way into the polls to vote.
Yeah, it's a solution looking for a problem. That's what it is. And they don't want to be real about this. And again, what they're trying to do is they're trying to gaslight folks by saying, well, how dare Democrats be against this? I mean, look at the number of Democrats who agree with voter ID. The issue is not voter ID. Here's a perfect example. You take, look, you're there in Texas. I'm born and raised in Texas. I still vote there. In Texas, when they passed the law in Austin, they would not, if you were a student at a state university, that is a state university, you could not use your student ID to vote, but if you had a gun permit, you can use that. Well, wait a minute. A state ID is a state ID. That's a perfect example of them saying, no, we want ID, but we don't want all forms of ID. So we're not going to allow that ID because they don't want those students at state universities to be voting because they believe, oh, they may be voting more Democrat than Republican. That's a perfect example of how Republicans don't like all forms of ID. No, they want to specify exactly which form of ID.
Yeah, and the perfect example with the continuation of it is Prairie View A&M University. The students at Prairie View A&M University have had problems trying to not only register to vote, but actually voting. They actually at one time divided the campus such that some people could vote on campus and others would have to vote elsewhere. They have, over the years, found clever ways to prevent people of color from voting. And it applies to us more so than others because of the history in this country of our being birthed. Many people were born, if you're as my age, midwifery was a means by which you acquired your first breath of air. And as a result, the records are not as exact as one might think until you start to explore this possibility of getting a birth certificate. Many of the people that I represent, they're not going to travel out of the country. They have no passport, so they've not bothered to try to acquire a passport. So that's out of the question. So they're only left with this birth certificate option. And sometimes it really does cost more than some people can afford. It cost me about $60 to make this application. Now, that's not a lot for me, I confess, but there are some people who are making minimum wage, living from paycheck to paycheck. they've got to now spend some of their additional money on this ID, and that can be a burden for them. So what I believe is this: we have to fight this, and one of the ways to fight it is to vote against it. I'm going to vote against it. It does not matter what they say. This is a voter suppression. It is the latest form of some sort of nouveau poll tax, when you have to now buy another ID so that you can vote. I'm antithetical to it. I'm going to vote against it, and I encourage others to stand up to this as well. Do not be bullied into believing we are doing something inappropriate because we refuse to allow people to suppress the vote, not only in Black communities, but I mentioned Black communities because of our history in the country, but poor white people are going to have similar problems. And we have to protect their rights when we protect our rights.
Well, these poor white folks had better recognize that just because Trump is saying don't mean it's good, and they better speak up, or they're going to look up at the last second. Look, we know in the last election how they moved voting locations, and they screwed over Native Americans in South Dakota, where they moved the polling site, and that impacted their vote turnout. Norm Ornstein, I'm looking for the tweet right now, and I saw this tweet yesterday, and I thought it was interesting. Now, first of all, let me be perfectly clear. I don't believe we have to have new forms of IDs, but one of the things that he said is, man, I'm trying to find the tweet. I'm going to paraphrase. He said, what Democrats should do is Democrats should put forth a bill calling for voter ID, but what they should do is they should say that the federal government is going to mail for free an ID to every American who cannot afford a new one. He said, and then let's see if Republicans stand up for that. I'm gonna find the actual tweet so I can read the actual thing. But that was the thing that I've always said. Okay, since y'all want a government ID, fine. I can't think of, listen, if Pete Hegseth can buy lobster and stuff like that at the Pentagon, if Donald Trump can sit here and waste taxpayer money, him flying back and forth playing golf, okay, let's do this here. The federal government says we're going to establish a federal government ID, and we're going to offer that for free to every American citizen. I guarantee the Republicans will absolutely say no to that. And I'm saying, hey, what more American is that to say, here's a free government-approved ID for every American citizen?
I absolutely would agree with that, because it lifts the burden of having to get your ID from another state, which was the case with me. I live in Texas. I was born in Louisiana in Charity Hospital. The hospital is no longer there. And it would take the burden off of the person to have to now search out other states for an ID. And sometimes that can be very complicated. It's not as simple as one might think. I agree with you. Let's have the state bear the burden of giving everybody the ID. I don't think that people in general oppose the ID. It's the process that creates the problem. And not only the process, but now this added notion that a person can be sued for simply registering a person improperly. That's going to create a lot of consternation in the minds of people who have this function of registering people to vote. They will probably deny a person rather than risk being brought to court and charged with some sort of civil offense. So I would hope that people would understand that we have to stand against it. I don't want people to be bullied into doing anything, especially when it comes to this right to vote. As you know, we're losing a lot of our other rights under the Voting Rights Act. We've lost this opportunity to pre-clear, and as a result, we're now finding that we're having laws like moving the various voting registration places or voting places around without any pre-clearance. All of these things are being done to suppress the vote and to maintain power in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. They've gone so far as to redistrict various portions of states such that lines are drawn to eliminate congressional districts. Again, just to maintain the power in the Senate. And it would seem that this would be so onerous that people could see through it and immediately decide that this is not something that they can support. It's all about maintaining power, and it's all about racism in the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. Congressman Al Green, we appreciate it, sir. Thank you so very much, my alpha brother.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And Clyburn is one of the most knowledgeable persons in Congress. If you lose Clyburn, you're going to lose a lot of knowledge in the Congress.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to talk about that a little bit later as well. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring my panel now on Dr. Nola Haynes, Georgetown University School of Foreign Service out of D.C., Winkuni Siant, co-founder of Politicking out of D.C., Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show out of D.C., will be joining us in a few. Winkuni, I'm going to start with you. This is the tweet that Norman Ornstein put out. He said, Senate Dems need to introduce an actual voter ID bill, include state-issued student IDs as acceptable, and offer free passport cards for those now lacking an official photo ID. Contrast it with the Save America Act, which uses voter ID as a smokescreen for voter suppression. He's right. And see, now all of a sudden, now Republicans, okay, wait, what's the problem?
He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And this is just another attempt by the Republicans at voter suppression. If you really want true equity and equality in this country, particularly when it comes to voting, that's exactly what you would do. You would not only implement a system that works, which again, the system that we have currently already has proven that it works. There is not a bunch of people that don't have government IDs going to vote. That's number one. Number two, once you make the burden upon the state, they see how much of a financial waste of time, money, and energy it actually is. But what they want is they want to target vulnerable populations, people that generally don't have, real IDs or don't have passports or may have misplaced their birth certificates. So vulnerable populations that may not have access to these things, and target those people and keep them out of voting precincts. This is simply unethical and it's unconstitutional.
Well, and the other thing that people have to know, Nola, in understanding this, and this is right here. This is from the Bipartisan Policy Center. This is bipartisanpolicy.org. 5 things to know about the Save America Act. And this, it says right here, in terms that they lay out really what's going on here. But here's what people don't know about this deal. They already say right here, citizenship is already a requirement. Instances of non-citizen voting, extremely rare. Now, when you start going on, many eligible citizens don't have documentary proof of citizenship because you don't have to. You don't have to have if you don't have a passport, other than that, you don't need to prove you're a citizen. You're a citizen, okay? Then all of a sudden, there are multiple ways to verify citizenship that puts responsibility on government, not voters. But here's the other thing, and this is the Jedi mind trick, Nola. Republicans, well, what's the problem? It's voter ID. Democrats support voter ID. Republicans support voter ID. Why are you afraid of ID? You need an ID to get into a building. No, the Save America Act also bans mail-in voting, except in extreme cases.
It's what they always do, Roland. It's a messaging trick. It is this idea of saying something, to normalize it. You sound like the sane person in the room. You present an argument that seems absolutely sane and you're speaking calmly and you're speaking in a specific tone. These are all messaging tricks. And we all know that the GOP Republicans, they do it well. They have it on lock. But I am very happy that this conversation is happening, that the realities of the SAVE Act is being talked about. And to your point, I've never in my entire life, and as an American citizen, had to prove the fact that I'm an actual citizen. So that's weird and it feels uncomfortable and it feels like a direction we shouldn't be going in. But the last thing I'll say about this is the same thing with the gerrymandering, right? The same excuses that they use to manipulate the courts to get the result that they want. This is yet another tactic. But at the end of the day, we can inform, we can educate, which is one part of this, so people can know what to do when they get to the polls. But the other side of this is a larger conversation that we need to have about the way in which some of these loopholes are exploited, because it is clear as day with the redistricting situation in Texas that suppressed voters. What happened in that Texas race was just clear as day to many people. And we are in midterm season. And I'm very worried that things like this are going to continue to happen. And what will the fix be? outside of educating people on what to do at the polls. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, and not only that, so, Donald Trump, who actually is voted by mail, he actually, like literally, he's voted by mail, but he thought how it's unsafe. What was crazy to me is that when you look at this whole thing, the state of Oregon, Winnicoonie, the whole election is by mail-in voting. So it's not safe. If I'm correct, isn't Colorado as well, where they don't do, we've got early voting sites, whatever. No, the entire election is mail-in.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Roland, but these things were heightened during the time of COVID. It's prevention, right? Do we need to really aggregate thousands of people into one particular area? No. Also, I think that there's something really eerie about this this Save Act, because it really eerily reminds me of, back in the 18th and 19th century, where as a Black person, you had to carry freedom papers to prove that you were not enslaved. And now we're having to carry particular forms of ID to prove that we're American citizens. When did we start deciding that American citizens were not American by proxy? What happened to the benefit of the doubt? Why are we shifting to a patrol state? I think there's a lot of implications to this that are deeply layered. And it really reminds me of the 18th and 19th century. It's concerning. It's going to disproportionately affect Black and brown people. And their messaging is not low. It's not subtle. It's not a dog whistle. It's an all-out alarm.
It is insane. And y'all, right here are the states. So I just want you to understand, this is the map right here. No excuse voting. Okay. So you'll see here. So in the green are the states that have excuse required absentee mail voting. Okay. In the green, you see Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. Okay, you see these states right here. Well, look at no excuse absentee mail balloting. All these other, the blue, y'all, all these blues, like, you don't need an excuse. Like, why do I have to do an excuse? Now, look at what's all mail elections. These West Coast states, they're all mail. Like this is what's stupid. Now, I have no problem, because of our history, election day, going down, walking to the booth, doing whatever. All right, but how hard is it to say, man, let me just fill this damn thing out and drop it in the mail? Now, the problem is, with these idiots with the mail service and with games they're playing, and this recent Supreme Court ruling, Nola, okay, where they made this, now, we ain't gonna deliver the mail from those zip codes. Okay, got it. So I vote early. I'm not trying to go down on election day. Shit happens, rain, storms, whatever the hell. If you tell me I got 30 days to vote early, I'm going to vote early. Okay, but the bottom line is this here. The games that they are playing, they want to end all mail-in voting, and it's like, except like in 3 instances. And then this whole ID. People need to understand. I remember, I forgot which state it was. This was a few years ago. This was after Shelby v. Holder, where there was a state that said, "Oh, you're going to need to have your birth certificate." Except you can't have the birth certificate from the Bureau of Vital Statistics, which is just a printout. They said, Nola, no, you're going to need your birth certificate with the raised seal. Okay. I know my mom and my dad and my sisters are watching. I think that birth certificate is somewhere at my mom and dad's house. Or it might be at my sister Levita's house. I remember seeing it growing up, where you had the 2 feet and a certificate. But they were literally saying, oh, no. If you get the copy from the Bureau of Vital Statistics, that's not going to suffice. We only going to accept the one with the raised seal. Now, how many damn people still got that birth certificate?
Not a whole bunch of people. And there's so many things that I want to say about this. Just thinking about the folks, let's start with natural disasters. After Katrina, like all the things you just mentioned, we don't have any of that. We had to go through all the processes. And here's another thing about birth certificates that people also have to watch out for. So you think you might be getting your authentic birth certificate, but there are all of these websites that's charging all of these different fees. So it's up to you to be able to figure out which one is the actual government sanctioned site, and every state does things a little bit differently. So there's that obstacle. And as a former caregiver, when I think about how challenging they are making mail-in voting, when my mom was no longer mobile, and we're talking about someone who ran a precinct, like my mom took that job very seriously. Mail-in voting was a godsend, right? And not just for her, but just for a lot of people in her veterans community, right? Mail-in voting was a godsend. And the last thing I'll say, this is all designed to be complicated on purpose, because Roland, you were going through all those different sets of rules and this one and that one. It is designed to be challenging for the voter to just say, you know what, F it, I'm going home. And that's the part of it that upsets me so badly, because it's sinister, right? Because at the end of it, I am convinced it is really about keeping people home and making the voting process so unattractive, so complicated that people just don't want to deal with it. They just don't want to.
Right. Here's a perfect example. I am already a registered voter in Texas, in Dallas County. I have been registered at the same address since December 1999. Same address. Now they're saying I'm now going to have to prove it. So everybody watching, let me do this here. I'm going to change this here. Nope, I was born in Harris County. So I type in here, need to get a Harris County birth certificate. Okay. So now you see right here, you got Texas birth certificate. Now, to your point, well, first of all, who's legitimate? This is some Vital Form Direct. I see here usvitalrecords.org. I see texasvitalrecords.org. Now, here's what I need people to see. Now, this is the AI speaking right here. To get a Harris County birth certificate, you can order online via the texas.gov website, by mail, or in person at the Harris County Clerk's office. Boom! The cost is generally $23 per certificate, with online orders processed within 20 to 25 days. So, if I need people listening, if the Save America Act is passed, and you do not have your birth certificate, you're going to have to pay, this is just Harris County, the fees could be higher elsewhere.
They are.
You're going to have to pay $23. This is why it's called a poll tax. So Harris County, Texas is bigger, hell, I think, than 3 or 4 states. That means that you got to pay to get your birth certificate, and you're already registered. Right now, you're an American citizen, you're already registered, but if they pass this, no, now you got to pay. So what do you think is going to happen? And see, then they say, well, I can't believe the Democrats. They're trying to say black people are so dumb that they don't know how to go order a birth certificate, and they don't. No, fool. We know the games y'all trying to play. This is why y'all need to stop listening to them dumbasses on mainstream media who keep saying, well, I understand. It's just a birth certificate. The Save America Act is not just an ID. They're going to force you to pay for a birth certificate, to pay for a passport, and the passport, I think, is like, cost of U.S. passport.
It's not cheap, but it's not
for everybody watching, this is a U.S. State Department. We on right now. Passport fees, okay? 16 and older, First time or not eligible for renewal, you're going to have to pay $130. 16 and older, renewal eligible, $130. Child under 16 is not going to apply because when it comes to voting. Oh, you may already have a passport. You have to change or correct your passport. Okay? Not going to cost you. Submit a form. All right? Oh, guess what? Damn, the election's coming up. I need to get a passport rushed to me. Expedited service, $60. 1 or 3 day delivery, $22.05. File search, $150. It's going to cost you more than $200 to get that passport. Republicans, they're not talking about this. They're just trying to say, what's wrong with y'all? How dare you be against the ID? Y'all, don't fall for the okie doke. We've got to go to a break. I'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Carolina, Democratic Congressman Jim Clyburn says he's going to seek an 18th term in Congress, making him one of the last folks who, of course, that old in Congress. But guess what? He ain't the oldest member of Congress now. Clyburn announced his decision today at an event with supporters at the South Carolina Democratic Party headquarters in Columbia, South Carolina.
I'm here today to say I do believe that I'm very well equipped and healthy enough to move into the next term, trying to do the things that are necessary to continue that pursuit of perfection. And so I will run a very vigorous campaign, but one about as vigorous as my last week has been. I left here on Saturday night, and I flew to Selma, Alabama, where we flew to Montgomery, and by car over to Selma to take part in the annual celebration of that great 1965 walk across the Independence Bridge. Went to church services, prayer breakfast, spoke at both events, spent some time with Bishop McAllister, who is native of Florence, South Carolina. And then I went off to Chicago. And there I participated in 3 book events on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Spoke to 2 high schools, Leo High School in Chicago and Evanston Township High School, the biggest high school in the country, 3,600 students. And sat down with student leaders at both schools and got back here last night trying to run away from a tornado. It seemed as if I ran into one. But before I left on Saturday to take that track, I played 18 holes of golf. And so my health has been good. I know that in a few months I'm going to celebrate the 47th anniversary of my 39th birthday. It adds up to 86 years. But if I were not up to it, I would not do it. But in response, after some extensive surveying, some intense consultations with my 3 daughters, they finally got to a unanimous opinion that I should be here today and make this announcement.
Okay. Let's unpack this. All right. First and foremost, there's a lot of people who have been sitting and commenting, oh, this is ridiculous, all sort of stuff. Just so you know that there are 435 House members. There are 100 United States senators. This is a piece, let me just double check the date on here. This is from January 2026. This is NBC News. There are 24 members of Congress who are 80 or older. More than half are running for re-election. Okay, so when you go into the article, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who's leaving, is 85. Steny Hoyer, top Democratic leader, 86, not running for re-election. Former Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is 83, not running for re-election. Then when you go down, and Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, is 92 years old. David Scott of Georgia, he is 80 years old. And then they list in here ages and names and things along those lines. And so there have been a lot of people who have been saying, like you take Maxine Waters, a lot of people saying, oh, they got to go. Okay, well, you take Maxine Waters. She will be 88 years old on Election Day. Okay, let's contrast with Democrat Eleanor Holmes Norton, who will be 89. David Scott, and on and on and on. Okay, so now let me unpack this. I have never, nor will I ever, tell somebody it's too old, you got to go. I will say, if you are infirmed and it is difficult for you to execute your duties of office, and that means for me, mobility, that means holding town halls, meeting with your constituents, you got to go. Now, for the people who don't understand our political system, and this is not just D.C., the American political system is based upon seniority. It's seniority. Committee assignments, office sizes, power. But here's something that I need people to understand that you cannot replace with youth. That youth, no matter how amazing it is, no matter how much energy that you have, youth cannot replace institutional memory. Youth cannot replace the debates and the negotiations that went on in a certain bill at this particular time, the last time it came up. Youth cannot replace, key lobbyists and what did they try to push for last time and how they had to try to get over it. Now, let me be real clear. I believe in passing the baton. I believe in the next generation assuming responsibility. I also believe that if you want to beat me, you run. That if you think you a better person, then run. Listen, it was a young brother. Let me know if y'all have the graphic from the other night. It was a young brother in Mississippi who said, damn it, he should be a member of Congress. It's time for Benny Thompson to retire. It's time for Benny Thompson to go. Okay? He ran. Not that one. That's the Senate race. I need the congressional race. He got his ass whooped. Y'all, I'm going to show y'all this woman here. This is Amanda Littman. I don't know who he is, some white woman in Brooklyn, New York. So she tweeted in response to Clyburn running, this selfish decision does such a disservice to his district, to the Democratic Party, and to the country. There is an incredible bench of leaders in his community who could take the baton. I hope one of many of them primary him and make him defend this choice. She later said, as a reminder, for the last year plus, I have called for every single Democrat over 70 to pass the torch, all of them. Okay. Here's my question. Are the folks you proposing better? Now, Clyburn and I joke all the time. He's an Omega, I'm an Alpha. We joke all the time. But here's the reality. I've seen Jim Clyburn move. I've seen him. I'll be here, there. I'll run to Congressman Clyburn. Congresswoman Maxine Waters, she 87. She was there at Reverend Jackson's funeral. I ran into her at the NBA All-Star game. I ran into her at the Image Awards. This is why, to me, a lot of times, this is a stupid conversation. And then folks say, we need term limits. Stop. There's no such thing as national term limits. That's state. Okay? That's state. But if you tell me, would I rather have a 20 or 30-year member with vast experience sitting in Congress who is still effective, you damn right. Compared to somebody who's new, who don't even know where the bathrooms are. See, I think people make a mistake when they just go, okay, you old. Now, I'm about to say this right now. Congressman David Scott is an alpha man. Congressman David Scott should retire. I appreciate Congressman Scott. I enjoy seeing him, but he has missed a lot of votes. His health has been compromised. It has. I disagreed when Sheila Jackson Lee ran for mayor of Houston. I believe that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee should have stayed in Congress, and Chris Hollins, black folks should have got behind Chris Hollins running for mayor. What ends up happening? She loses, she gets blown out by John Whitmire. A few months later, we find out she's got cancer. Boom, she's dead. Sylvester Turner, my alpha brother, church member, a Church Without Walls, Brook Hollow Baptist Church in Houston. He had served 2 terms as mayor. He was a longtime Texas state representative. I disagreed when he ran for Congress. He had health issues, but also, Doc, you put your time in. Barely there a few months. He died last year in office. And then the governor left that seat vacant for a year so Democrats couldn't have that vote in Congress. I believe there are instances when folks should not run. But I also say that if you believe in generational change, not a problem. Get out there, organize and mobilize your voters, and beat them. So, and I see a whole lot of these white folks commenting on social media. Y'all didn't have the same smoke when Bernie Sanders ran for office. You do know Bernie Sanders is 87 years old. He's older than Clyburn. Bernie will be 88 in September. Here's my last point. When you talk about seniority and power, I know Grassley is 92. And let me be real clear. When Senator Dianne Feinstein was there, that woman needed to go. She was not fully there. She needed to go. Strom Thurmond, his ass served too long. Mitch McConnell, freezing at the mic multiple times. They got to guide him around like he's in a nursing homes. He should go. He should go. There have been instances with other members. Y'all, they too old. I was clear. Love and respect Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton. She needed to not run last time. But if you tell me that there's a member of Congress who's in their 70s and they still have energy and knowledge and wisdom and they can serve, I'm not opposing them running. Because I also say that you want to beat them, then you beat them. Simple as that. Let me go to my panel. I'll get y'all to weigh in. Win Cooney, I'll start with you.
I feel very conflicted on this, Roland. I feel so many ways. So I guess to start, like, Representative Clyburn is a champion. He's a kingmaker in South Carolina. He's done some really prolific things, and I think we need to honor and respect that. I think as Black people, we have a history of honoring, our elders, not discarding them. So I want to start by saying that. That being said, I think the fact that there are 24 members that are 80 and over is abhorrent. I think that's a huge problem, and I think it's a really nasty reflection of what's wrong with American politics. And if I'm being real, it's not something that's simply a problem in America. More than half of Africa's leaders are over 80 as well. So this is a huge problem and it's rampant, but to stick with it domestically, my pastor, Howard John Wesley, always says this phrase that I'm going to say is he doesn't want to die in the pulpit. I want people to stop dying in office, because then we get a situation like the one that we're seeing in Texas right now, right? And all that does is disenfranchise the communities that these people represent. Now, I'm with you, Roland, on the fact that, yes, there are people like Representative Clyburn that are still extremely able and willing and ready to do their job. But I do think the challenge within the Democratic Party, and maybe it's in American politics through and through, both sides need to look at this, is the fact that people really don't know when to step down and people don't really listen to counsel. I think the problem with the just run against them philosophy, Roland, is that if I'm a young person in Representative Clyburn's district and I respect and I revere the legacy that he's created, as a Black person, as a young person, there is some apprehension in running against him. I'm not saying that they should or they should not. What I'm saying is that anybody who has done their homework on that district respects the giant that Representative Clyburn is, right? And take it bigger than Representative Clyburn. Anybody who is running against someone who has been in their seat for over 20 years is going to understand that person has a storied history, and there's apprehensions in running. And the community sometimes even finds that distasteful. I saw it in my own district when Sheila Sherfless McCormick was running against her predecessor. And she ran twice against him. He ended up passing away the third time she ran. Now, she's in some legal trouble right now, but I saw that system end up working for her. But a lot of the times when people run against the giants that are still sitting in office, they're often stigmatized by members of the community because they take it as a mark of disrespect. So I'm conflicted in that. As a young person, I do think that these elders, these champions, have to increase their mentorship, have to pass the baton, have to pass the throne. And at the same time, I think if they were doing a better job of mentoring, then they wouldn't need to be in office at 80. Just because you're good at your job doesn't mean you need to be doing it into your last quarter of life, per se. So I think there needs to be better mentorship done, particularly in the Democratic Party, to make sure that situations like this don't happen. That being said, I'm not saying Representative Clyburn is not able to do his job. I think he's able to do an excellent job, but he's an outlier. And when we look at the amalgamation of these folks that are over 80, I think most of them need to be set down, as we say in the church.
But here's the question, and I understand all of that, but if a person is able-bodied to serve and they still can, then I don't have any issue with that. The issue that I do have, and again, I'll go back, the last 8 politicians to die in office were Democrats. Here's the problem. They were sick. They were sick. My issue is when Jerry Connolly ran, Jerry Connolly should not have run for re-election. He shouldn't have. Okay? When I go to Representative Sylvester Turner shouldn't have won. Representative Raul Gravaglia should not have run. Representative Donald Payne should not have run. Feinstein saying, I think Donald McEachin got, I think that was cancer. It could have been pancreatic cancer. But the thing here is this here. No, I'm not going to tell somebody who is still effective that I think you need to go sit down and a younger person needs to run. Not if you're still effective. I mean, I'm not. And to me, it ain't got nothing to do with, oh man, I need to have my turn. I still believe that if you are effective and you still can do the job, you do it. I got no issue with that.
Absolutely. I have three things to say. So when Cooney, so much of what you said was so elegant and so nuanced, and I agreed with a lot of what you said, especially when you pointed out that Clyburn is an outlier. He absolutely is an outlier. The last time I saw him, he reminded me of the time before we saw each other. I forgot. He remembered. So these are just kind of like personal moments that I've seen this man in action. And I have literally been in awe of what I've seen. And I think I felt very similarly to you until I was at Department of State. And the most amazing folks sitting around the table were the people who were in the room, who wrote the treaties, who wrote the agreements. And they were aging.
Hold on. No. I want you to freeze right there. I want you to freeze that right there. And explain to people the value of when the next issue comes up, when someone says, well, in 1988, this is really what happened. This is how we were able to do this. This is what, like, you were able to lean on in that moment their knowledge. They didn't flip it through a book. They were there. That is valuable when you are trying to negotiate diplomatic crises. And it's valuable when they know the person who's also in the other country.
That part. Like, when you have people sitting around the table talking about, well, actually, New Start, we actually did this for this reason, and this is why this happened. That is important. That is valuable. You cannot lose that institutional knowledge. And Clyburn is one of those outliers. His sharpness and his depth is very important. I think in as much as we need new folks, we need new blood, we also need those elders who have been there, who've been in the trenches and who knows how to get things done. If Clyburn did not know how to get things done, I would be the first person to gently suggest for him to step aside and let someone younger take the reins. But I think he is the example of, when we're talking about someone who's aging, but you're still able to do the job. And that is what he was trying to outline in the press conference. He was like, I did this. I did two things today and I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing I'll say is Clyburn is also a friend to the foreign policy community. He has scored 93% in the 118th Congress in terms of his foreign policy score. That's important for someone like me. He aligns with progressive foreign policy issues. There is no guarantee that someone coming behind him will. So what I'm saying is Clyburn isn't someone you just toss away because he's aging. And at some point, we're all going to get there too. And I hope I am as effective, as agile, as sharp as Clyburn. And I hope that people would view my abilities case by case basis and not just judge me by the fact of how old I am. But that value that this man brings to any space that he's in, because he's been there, he's seen it, and he can still get it done. I'm Team Clyburn.
I'm just going to give a perfect example, and this is where, again, when Cooney, how I sort of see this here. So last year, when I decided to run for the NABJ board again, I already served 3 times. I was a national student representative. I was a national secretary. I was appointed vice president for digital, and then I ran for a term and won. And somebody said, this is what someone said. Well, you served before, somebody else should have a turn. And I go, okay. I said, here's my question. Can they be effective? See, I don't believe in the concept of it's your turn because it's your turn. I believe you earn it. I believe that there's some value that you have to bring to the table. And there have been times, here's a perfect example. There have been times that we've been in board meetings and something comes up and it's related to a media company. And I go, and people are like, oh, well, I don't know. Again, this is our board of directors. I don't know who to call. Oh, I know the CEO. Oh, I know the vice president. Oh, we're trying to get this here. Who did you send it to? Oh, I sent it to the assistant. No, I don't send it to the assistant. I went so-and-so. I mean, when I was on the board, we were in a board meeting in Detroit. And they were presenting, this was in 2018. They were presenting and they were like, okay, this is what we're gonna do for a convention. And I'm sitting there and they were like, I said, we haven't booked any major speakers. They were like, nah. I was like, okay. And they're sitting here saying, well, we're gonna send this letter to so-and-so, who's gonna take it to so-and-so, to get it to so-and-so. And I'm watching this thing in play, and I'm like, okay, this is some bullshit. I pick my phone up. I start texting Tyler Perry. Hey, Tyler, convention's in Detroit. Boom, boom, boom. I'm getting back from Europe. Boom, boom, boom. Man, listen, pick your day. You can speak on Thursday, morning or evening, Friday, morning or evening, Saturday, morning or evening. I don't care what you talk about. I'm going to give you 2 hours. He said, I can take him to church and school. I said, yes, you can. Done. That was 10 minutes. I said, y'all, Tyler Perry going to be our main speaker. They were like, that only happens when experience is at the table. So I need people to understand. People like, Roland, I ain't rolling with you. This somebody just said, everybody ain't you. That's the damn point. The point is, I need people at the table with juice. I need people at the table who can be effective. So the point here is, and this is why, and I just said it, this ain't about Clyburn. I've named black Democrats, including the Alpha brother, who I believe should not run. My point is, I want effective leadership at the table, and if your ass 80 and you still effective and you still mobile and you still can get it done, hey, I want you at the table versus somebody green at the table who nobody knows, nobody respects, and who cannot deliver. That's just how I factor, whether it's politics, business, or nonprofit, or anything. Win Cooney, and then I think, did y'all fix Reese's audio? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go to Win Cooney, then I'm gonna go to Reese on this. Win Cooney, go ahead.
Awesome. Roland, you made a lot of valid points. Number one, I agree with you. There shouldn't be any participation trophies. No, it's your turn because it's your turn. No, everything that is worth it needs to be earned. But I also believe in the concept of Sankofa, right? And I know you do too, because that's what you've done is you've opened your platform to young journalists like myself, like Noya, like there is so many people that you've touched and impacted. My challenge with the Democratic Party and what I struggle with is I want to make sure that, yes, okay, we all can touch head and agree that Representative Clyburn is more than competent. He's overly competent, and he's not the only one. But we can also agree that there are some folks that may not need to continue to pursue office. But my challenge with the Democratic Party as a whole is, where are the mentorship mechanisms that are ensuring that this does not become a continual problem? I want that when Representative Clyburn does decide not to run, as I hope in good faith at some point he will decide to and not be pushed out by illness or by disease, that when he decides not to run, that there is someone that has been trained up and is ready and is willing to do the job. My challenge with the Democratic Party, is there?
No, I'm
Because
telling you.
I feel like there's so many young people that aren't.
Listen. Jamie Harrison is an acolyte of Congressman Clyburn. Bakari Sellers is. Now, a lot of people are mad because Clyburn said that if he chooses not to run, he's going to endorse his daughter. She hasn't said that she wants the job, but here's the other deal. He's also been training her as well. And so I've talked to people in South Carolina. And so I think that's the whole piece. But here's the other thing to me that shuts it all down. The people who are going to ultimately decide are going to be the voters. And I've seen examples where a politician has anointed a successor, and the voters are like, nah, we ain't with them. Whether they were family or not. And they were like, nah, we ain't with them. We want this person over here. And so I'm watching this thing in play, and Reese, you can weigh in here. I just fundamentally believe that when people make the argument that you over 70, you got to go, that just to me is just dumb. Listen, my mama and daddy are 78. They chose to retire from working elections. They get called every election. Will y'all please reconsider? Will y'all please reconsider? I'm telling you, my mama was a precinct judge. They were like, because y'all had this thing on lock. They bet the Dallas County Democratic Party or the Dallas County elections, whatever the hell, and they begged my mama and daddy, will y'all please come back? The Dallas County Elections Office. They will y'all please come back to work elections? And this is all I'm saying. I want younger folks to work polls, but there's value when you got experience. Risha, go ahead.
Well, I agree. I think the easiest way to turn the page is get your ass up out the couch and vote. You know, get off of Threads, get off of Twitter, get off of TikTok. TikTok is not voters. And there are people who capture the viral spirit, and there are people who capture the hearts and minds of non-voters, and they don't translate those non-voters into voters. And so I think that there is an argument to be made about stepping aside and turning the page, but the people ultimately decide. I mean, people run against Representative Clyburn every time, and they get mollywopped every time because you have to cultivate community. You have to cultivate constituents, and it's easier to do, obviously, when you're an incumbent. It's easier to do when you can point to accomplishments and receipts instead of just rhetoric. But eventually, somebody will come along, in theory, and they will contest him, and they will be a credible competitor. But I'm not of the mindset of just telling old people just retire. I'm of the mindset of competing. And we have open elections. Yep. We have primaries for people to compete. And on my show on Saturday, I did an interview with Dr. Everton Blair. He's a candidate down in Georgia 13th, and he's running against David Scott, who is barely doing anything. But ultimately, the voters of Georgia 13th will decide between Dr. Everton Blair, David Scott, or any number of other candidates. All that you can ask for is to be able to present your case and to run your campaign, and then let the chips fall where they may.
And let me say this. Let me answer a couple of people before I go to break, because y'all going to make me cuss. Somebody just, seriously, so the Nicole 360 said, why would that institutional knowledge be gone if Clyburn doesn't run? Because he's not going to be there. Y'all, if you don't run,
it's inside you.
You're not. It's right. It's inside you. And when you are in the middle of a political battle, and you are trying to get votes, when you're horse trading, when you're trying to sit here and convince one of your own or the other party to vote for something, you are a repository of knowledge that then comes out in those moments. Now, this other person said this here. Looks good to me. Ask Roland if Clyburn has already agreed to buy ad space on Roland's network. Hashtag follow the money. Well, you can kiss my ass because he ain't bought no ad space. So I don't want to cuss, but I'll say this here. Looks good to me. You can go fuck yourself.
Damn, Roland.
No. See?
You said fuck before me. Just so everybody's
see, but some folks, and see, this is what happens when you don't pay attention. Because I named the alpha who I believe should not run. Because I've observed the last 3 to 4 years. I was one of the first people who said, I love Eleanor Holmes Norton, but she wasn't representing her constituents. Y'all, that's hard for us. And people are like, man, why you had to go there? Because guess what? I'm going to say what has to be said. Coming up next is a 76-year-old Congresswoman. She kick ass and take names. So I'm sorry. It'll be stupid for me to say, well, since Joyce Beatty is over 70, she got to go. That's dumb as hell. Institutional knowledge, relationships are critically important in politics. Joe Biden, when he said, I know all these world leaders, you're right. But guess what, Joe? Your infirmity is the reason why you should have stepped down and why he only should have ran for one term. Was he the choice in 2020? Absolutely. Against everybody else run? Absolutely. But that's also when you have an alarm clock in your head to say, you know, it's time to go. It's time for me to go. So some folk go willingly. Some people go, they get pushed out by voters, or God brings them home. I'm saying,
or George Clooney out there.
I'm saying we need people. If you're an older politician, know when it's time to go, prepare the next generation. But if you can still kick butt and take names, I ain't got no problem with you being there. Coming up next, we'll chat with Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, not about this, about some other stuff. She's kicking Donald Trump's ass when it comes to the Kennedy Center. Filed a lawsuit against him. We'll discuss that next. Folks, don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible to do the work that we do. And I told y'all, ain't no millionaires and billionaires supporting us. Listen, I done said, I got some people hitting me up. They were mad when I said the CBC PAC ain't never gave us $1. They haven't. It's a lot of politicians that haven't. We still gonna do the work, though, representing black people. You want to give via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. As for credit cards as well. Checks and money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bree Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Hey everybody, I'm T.D. Jakes, and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
Oh, so you know, Donald Trump destroys everything that he touches. Everything that he touches. And including the Kennedy Center, and this arrogant, narcissistic, lying, twice impeached, criminally convicted con man, of course, puts his name on it because when you're egotistical, that's what you need because you have small hands, small feet, and, well, other things that are small. And now a federal judge has heard arguments today on a request to block Trump from closing the Kennedy Center for 2 years as part of his plan to, he claims, renovate the Performing Arts Center, which he has renamed. No, he stuck his name on it. Only Congress can rename the Kennedy Center. The hearing in U.S. District Court in Washington is part of the lawsuit filed in December about how Democratic Congresswoman Joyce Beatty to stop Trump's efforts to rename the Kennedy Center. Her filing also requests that the judge issue an order ensuring that Beatty, a trustee, can participate in the Kennedy Center board's upcoming March 16th meeting to be held at the White House. The suit alleges that Trump is abandoning the Kennedy Center's operating plans to conduct routine repairs and capital maintenance while the Performing Arts Center continues to operate, while the closure of the Kennedy Center is still pending the board's approval. Beatty's filing says that if the facility is closed, it will be extremely difficult to revive the institution. The request for a temporary restraining order asks the judge to act immediately to prevent irreparable harm. She joins us right now. Good to see you. Okay, so explain to people, okay, the board. There are board members and ex officio.
And ex officio.
Okay.
And the ex officios are members of the Congress like me on the House side and on the Senate side.
Who appoints those people?
And those individuals are appointed ultimately by the Speaker and the Senate President.
So the Speaker and the Senate President, they get to appoint folks in there. Now,
and recommended by the ranking or the minority side.
Got it. Now, ex officio members, do you have a vote? Who votes?
I have voted as an ex officio member, and I've been on the board for a little over 5 years. And I have voted. Now, if they go into an executive session, we go into it, but on some things they've asked only the trustees appointed by the President of the United States to vote.
So when they, quote, voted to rename, I remember Richard Grinnell, others were saying, oh, she's not a member, she can't vote.
And that was not true. My mic had been open the whole time. Had I wanted to weigh in on something else they were talking about.
Now, you weren't physically in the room.
It was a Zoom meeting with those who flew to be at Mr. and Mrs. Williams, the big in Las Vegas.
I got you. Steve wins. Well, he lost the casino in the divorce. But yeah.
So we were there. Many of us were on this.
Right.
But here's the other thing. You couldn't even see the people. Usually, if you're on a Zoom, you see the board of trustees.
Right.
All we saw was a sign.
Oh, so they had no cameras on.
You did not see the home and them sitting at a board table or wherever they were. You could only hear them. And so when they proceeded, the meeting was almost over, and they said, oh, we have some good news. I want to report out that we're going to name the Kennedy Center the Trump Center.
But you were like, where in the hell that come from?
And I said, Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, I have a comment to make. And it went to mute. So I just thought it was a mistake. I hit the button again.
On their end.
Yes. And every time I would unmute and say, I have a dissenting vote on this, I would get muted. And then I got a note that said, you will not be unmuted.
Wow.
Yes, they told me I would not be unmuted. So obviously, I decided to make some noise about it. And for all those folks out there saying everything that's happening in the world, the Kennedy Center, let me tell you why.
All right, hold tight 1 second. Something is wrong with your microphone. They're telling me that. So we're going to go to a break. We're going to fix the mic of Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Come back. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment.
A decade of love, joy, and power. Black Voters Matter is 10 years old, and we are just getting started. This is love with a purpose. This is Black joy in motion. This is unstoppable power. Across campuses, neighborhoods, and back roads. Let's go! We show up, not just to vote, but to be seen, to be heard, to belong. We ride together, we organize together. We remind each other that our voices matter, because they always have. Black Voters Matter is about more than ballots. It's about housing and healthcare, clean water and living wages, education, reproductive freedom, and dignity. It's about turning pain into action, turning belief into movement, turning community into power. We don't wait to be invited. We bring the energy. We bring the love. We bring the people. Because when Black communities come together, we don't just survive, we thrive. This is how change happens. This is how history moves. We organize, we build, we win.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Brittany Noble, Midwest-born, HBCU educated with experience in newsrooms across the country. Well, I've teamed up with Roland Martin to bring to you The Breakdown. This isn't just news. It's our stories, our voice, our community. Join me for The Breakdown, Monday through Friday at midday, only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Rhea Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
Folks, Black Star Network is easy.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hi, I'm Swing Cash, Basketball Hall of Famer, and you're watching Black Star Network.
All right, folks, still trying to get this microphone situation sorted. 17 blue states filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration over new race, gender, income, and academic performance-based reporting requirements for universities. The lawsuit challenges the new admissions and consumer transparency supplement, the ACT survey, which requires universities to provide years of admissions and student data related to diversity, equity, and inclusion to ensure schools are engaging in affirmative action. The lawsuit says the sheer amount of data sought through the ACT survey would place a considerable burden on colleges. Blue states say the reporting requirements are costly and could be used by the administration for politically motivated investigations. If universities refuse to abide, they will face government penalties. Here's what's crazy about this, Nola. These idiots in the Department of Education have literally said to universities that if a student submits an essay even mentioning DEI, that's not allowed. That's total BS. Nola, you muted.
I'm not.
No. You were muted here. Got it. Go ahead. You're good.
Okay. I have this conversation a lot, Roland. I've actually literally never in my life, even when I worked at UCLA, and the academic side, I've never in my life actually read anything that said those words, or there's no magic DEI like department. I'm so confused by all of this, from DEI to the CRT. These things are not real, people. These are chimeras. When you are writing your application to apply to the school that you want to go to, you're not talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, you're not necessarily listing those three words. You're talking about your experience from the thousands of applications and essays that I've written. As a professor, there's definitely no reason to ever write DEI in any sort of essay or anything. What they are really talking about, like my class that was canceled in fall at Georgetown, International Relations and Race, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about professors like me that do anything that have to do with race and gender, like with these ridiculous depositions that are going around social media of these clowns that work for Doge who can't even define what diversity, equity, and inclusion is. They said anything that had words like feminism or anything related to LGBTQ, they automatically stop grant funding. This is what we're talking about. This is racism in plain view. This is the perfect example of structural racism. This is how it works, and this is how it's insidious. It has nothing to do with DEI ever being mentioned in an essay, unless a professor said, write an essay about DEI, which I've never seen. Maybe in other disciplines that might exist. I ain't never seen it. It's BS. It's BS. And I get really passionate about this. And the blatant racism, it just boils my blood. It really does. It pisses me off to no end.
When Coney, the thing that people don't understand here, and I'm going to bring in this whole Target boycott. This is why we're seeing what happens, why companies are not trying to even touch DEI. Because this administration is punitive. They seek retribution against people, and that's what's going on. And that, to me, is what is unbelievably shameful. And so in this case here, they are literally targeting, students. And they're targeting universities. When Coney?
All they want to do is make schools go through a costly process, which is punitive, right? They're targeting schools in particularly progressive areas. You think about a New York, you think about a Massachusetts. They're targeting places that they know are progressive. They're targeting places that they know that there are high levels of diversity. And they're asking for schools to provide admissions data to ensure these schools aren't engaging in affirmative action. But let's think about the reverse of this, which is with this type of data, they could also make sure schools are remaining white and homogeneous. So it's really a double-edged sword, and it's really a scary way to think about how this current administration continues to try to send us back to the 1960s and even prior to that. I think they're archaic. I think they're creating more work for the education system. Let's be real, the education system in the Department of Education has already been dismembered. We already have Linda McMahon running it. I don't need to say much more on that. It's really, really concerning, because I fear that the children and the young people that are coming up in this generation won't have a Department of Education and won't have a strong enough education system to lean on.
Reese.
Who are not white. This is about subjugating and closing opportunities for people through education. And that's why they have focused on canceling grants, which is a huge way that supports the salaries of professors. It's a huge way that supports research at these institutions. And so if they can default to whiteness and put the burden of proof on proving that Black people or people who are not white are qualified, as opposed to what these institutions should be proven is that they're not discriminating against people who have educational disparities in terms of admissions, the number of things, then they win. And, as when Coney mentioned, we have Linda McMahon. She's a fucking idiot as the education department. She lied about her education. She could probably not even spell education. She probably can't even spell DEI and what it comes out to, but they want to throttle the admissions and they want to throttle the education of as many non-white people as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is, and so we're going to keep calling them out. All right, going to a break. When I come back, I'll be chatting with Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Back in a moment.
You work that hard to keep people out of education.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race. And I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Come back to me. I'm not doing all that. What, you wasting? No, I'm not doing it. Go back.
What's up? It's Talib Kweli, MCEO. This is the Black Star Network.
Because you can't figure out basic audio. All right, y'all, I'm not going to waste any more time trying to figure out this stuff. So they're going to figure this out when the show's over. So, Congresswoman, you were talking about what happened. Tell people what happened when y'all had this meeting and they named the Kennedy Center, put Trump's name on it.
So we had a regular meeting, and at the very end, the meeting was almost over, and they said, oh, we have some great news. We're going to rename the Kennedy Center the Donald Trump Center at that time. And you can imagine, my heart dropped. So I pushed my button to unmute myself, and I had been unmuted before. And I said, this is Congresswoman Beatty, and I want to cast the descending vote on this. And I didn't even get all of it out. And I thought that, oh, let me unmute myself again. And I continued to do it a number of times, and finally I got a note that said, you will not be unmuted. Then they reported out that it was a unanimous vote. So two things happened that's important. One, it was not a unanimous vote. And two, they did not have the authority to do it. This is the only living memorial to the assassinated president. And 2 months after he was assassinated, President Johnson then signed into law that it would be named the John F. Kennedy Center. And so they couldn't do it. So I decided that I was not going to take this. And what I was telling you earlier is people need to understand, if you let someone like Donald Trump get by with one thing, then we're going to war. He wakes up in the middle of the night and he wants to go to war without authority. He wants to dismantle the Department of Education. He wants to attack health care. He wants to attack HUD. And so we have to all stand up for what we can fight for and not be afraid. So I filed it in federal court. We went to court today. The judge, I thought, did an amazing job. We will find out what decision he makes between now and before Monday morning. But he said things like, why not just let her go in the meeting and give her the materials and let her be able to speak? So we're asking that I can come to the meeting. Now, you know I don't want to go to the White House. Now, you know I don't want to go to the White House. But I'm going to go like Ruby Bridges when she walked into that school, because I'm going to go in, I'm going to ask the questions. And we also added an amendment to make sure that he does not close it. You know the number of jobs that people are going to lose? And you have to think about artists, the artists that perform there. Many artists that look like you and I perform there. Many firsts. The first time we've had a professional disc jockey, the first time we've had a comedian. All of those individuals have been Black Americans. performance. And so I am fighting for the children. Little black children waited all their life to be able to go to the Kennedy Center to see Alvin Ailey. They've canceled that production. Productions that have been there for 30 and 40 years, many of them are all black performances. The opera, the symphony, all of them said, we're not coming back. And so we are in the fight for our life. And I think if you don't fight, you can't win. So I'm about fighting and I'm about winning. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this.
All right, so turn the camera right there. Questions from the panel. Reese, you first. Reese, hold on one second. I want you to start over.
Involved at all?
Hold on, stop. Audio. Y'all better get this together. Now we can hear Reese. Reese?
Oh.
Now you can go. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Hey, y'all want to turn the audio speaker on in here so Congresswoman can hear? Yeah. I'm like, this is not our first day doing a broadcast here. All right, Reese, go ahead with your question.
Okay. I had two questions. Number one was, is the Kennedy family involved at all? I don't know. I don't know the makeup if they have any kind of say over what's happening. I would imagine that they strongly object. And then number two, what is actually being done in Congress? I know that Congress is pretty much neutered under Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune, but is there any kind of groundswell support to try to get the Kennedy Center back open?
Well, let me start by saying, yes, I talked to Joe Kennedy this morning, and as soon as this happened, with me and with them putting the name up, they came out in full force. Carolyn Kennedy, Maria Shriver, Carrie Kennedy, Joe Kennedy, they have all in their own family way written, protested, but none of them, Joe is no longer, as you know, a member of Congress, and it is in our bailiwick. But I can tell you they've been very supportive. They've been contacting board members. They've been fighting. Speaker Johnson has not done one thing. Look, I literally begged him to lower the flag last week on the day of the funeral for Jesse Jackson. I got almost 200 signatures, which meant I had also some Republicans just asking him to do something that simple. And he said, oh, I can't do that without talking to the president. So we sent a resolution and exactly.
That's your job.
He is scared. And he can't lead. He brings bills, another whole topic, but he brings bills to the floor that he can't even get passed. And so we sent the letter to the president, and we didn't hear anything. But I'm going to continue. We're still getting people to sign on. I don't care what day they do it. But I needed to add that, Reese, because it doesn't matter. They are afraid of this narcissist, this president that wants to have his own kingdom. I mean, he believes in autocracy.
Winconi.
First of all, Congresswoman Beatty, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your tireless work. Thank you for continuing to advocate for us. And you might be in the White House, but know that you're not by yourself.
Thank you.
What concern, Congresswoman, do you have about the precedent that something like this sets for cultural institutions that are meant to remain nonpartisan?
And that is a very good question, because it's just like what we're seeing with DE&I, what they're doing on campuses, books that they're removing that our children can't read about Black history, which is American history. And this is why we have to fight and get excited. I can tell you that past presidents have had a cabinet of individuals. They had people who believed in the arts, Black and white, a lot of majority folks. They are all writing in because they want to protect the cultural arts. And we need to do the same thing. When Alvin Ailey shows up at the Kennedy Center, Roland will tell you, it is a packed art. And even though we've seen the same performance maybe year after year, we're so proud to be in that venue. And so it is important for our children. It's important for us because, you know, the arts, music, and the spoken word is all about our beginning, going back just slavery days. It all started with arts, singing and dancing and the spoken word. So we have to continue to fight for that.
No.
Congresswoman, it's always so good to see you and your energy and your fight and your style and the way you just always show up ready to go. You inspire me every single time I see you. And I just want to say thank you for this fight as a person who grew up on the stage in New Orleans.
Yes.
And Roland, Reese, and I, when Cooney might have been there too, we had the pleasure of being at D Nice's fifth, his celebration for Club Quarantine. That was such an incredible experience, such an important cultural moment. And so my question is really about going forward. Because when I think about it in international law, there is protections for cultural artifacts. And I find it hard to believe that the Kennedy Center isn't that. And I'm just wondering, on day one, after midterms, after that blue wave, what is the plan to protect our cultural artifacts? Because I'm also reading about the slave ship that's being taken down at the Natural History African American Museum.
Absolutely. You are so on target. And every single thing that we're advocating for, it has to go back to voting. If we don't get people out to vote, we cannot make this midterm election. We can't get Hakeem Jeffries to be the speaker, the third most powerful person in the country. But we can undo it just like we did in Trump's first term. His first executive order was to do away with diversity, equity, and inclusion. When Joe Biden got back in, that was one of the first things that he did to put it back in place. So voting will help us restore all of the things that we've been fighting for over the years. But we have to have that blue wave, which means we have to continue to stay on message. We have to unify. You know, we can be together without always agreeing, but we have to make sure that every element that we have, whether it is Roland being unfiltered, speaking truth to power, all of you have your own following and you are amazing. This is not a time for us to be divided on anything because there's too much at stake.
Absolutely. Last point I'll ask you. I don't need the mic. I can talk loud enough. Last point. This dude is killing the economy with this war in Iran.
Oh my God,
Oil
the stock market
is now over $100 a barrel.
Food, oil, the stock market is going down. And that is another reason that we have to make sure that we vote. We've got to get him out the White House. There is something wrong with him. And I mean, really, there is something wrong with him.
Well, he's not going to leave till 29, but this is where taking back the House and the Senate matters.
This is so important because that's the only way we can fight back. Right now, we have leaders in the House and Senate. They're basically afraid. They don't make a decision without checking with Donald Trump. And the only way we can change that is to take back the House and to hopefully be able to take back the Senate. Follow the races, get engaged, put foot soldiers on the ground, work with us, because we're going to be fighting to make sure that Black media, and I'm going to say it here, that we fight for the dollars we raise to put it back with folks who can go out, who aren't afraid, who will tell our stories and get people excited. Barack Obama, in part, got elected because people were excited. We didn't worry about age then. Those folks who were 80 and 90 stood in line for 5 and 7 hours because they were so proud to be able to vote. People like my late mother. Then the young people got excited and got registered. So this is not a time for age divide. This is not a time for racial divide. We need to get out there and save the soul of this nation.
And just remind people, the group that votes the most in America,
there we are,
65 plus. So,
right
so it's a little hard. I'm just saying. Those are
Black
facts.
Women lead that also.
They're facts. Congressman, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, and hopefully these damn audio issues going to be fixed. Because I done spent too much money for these problems to be like having right now. Back in a moment.
It happened.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
How you doing? I'm Mark Curry, and you're watching the Black Star Network. That's why I got these glasses on, because that black star is bright.
Do the graphic and music. Come back to me. Come on, I got to chat with the Congresswoman in a second, so y'all go to headlines with Brittany Noble.
The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit has ordered the termination of the Saving on a Valuable Education, also known as the SAVE plan. The Biden administration introduced the SAVE plan as a more affordable option for student loan repayment, providing greater flexibility that allowed some borrowers to make payments as low as $0 a month. Well, according to a recent update from the U.S. Department of Education, beginning July 1st, 2026, federal student loan borrowers will have two repayment options: a tiered standard repayment plan or a new income-driven program called the Repayment Assistance Plan. The Education Department reports that approximately 7 million borrowers are currently enrolled in the SAVE plan, and during the ongoing legal challenges, these borrowers have been placed in forbearance and are not required to make monthly payments. A new gerrymandered congressional map approved by the Missouri General Assembly will remain in effect. A Jackson County judge issued this ruling on Thursday. Campaign Legal Center, the American Civil Liberties Union of Missouri, and the Voting Rights Project filed the lawsuit challenging the state's mid-decade redistricting effort. The group claims that the new map violates the Missouri Constitution's requirement of compactness and was drawn under direct pressure from the Trump administration. The map divides the Kansas City area into multiple sprawling districts, which clearly violates the constitutional mandate. If allowed to remain in place, this map would signify a significant setback for fair representation in Missouri. The state's constitution stipulates that redistricting should only occur once every decade following the U.S. decennial census, and that the maps must be drawn compactly. Well, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is proposing an ordinance to honor the late Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. while strengthening protections for voters and election workers. The Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. Fair Access to Democracy Ordinance will create 100-foot democracy zones around polling places where federal immigration agents could not conduct civil enforcement operations. The measure would also require landlords to provide secure mailboxes for tenants and add protections against doxing or harassment of election workers. Violations could carry fines ranging from $500 to $5,000. Jackson died last month at the age of 84. A judge in Georgia has ruled that Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and her office cannot withhold payment for President Donald Trump's legal fees related to the dismissal of the state's election interference case. Superior Court Judge Scott Gaffey determined that Willis's office remains disqualified from the case due to a previously identified conflict of interest involving her relationship with the special prosecutor assigned to that matter. The ruling permits Fulton County to intervene as former defendants, including Trump, seek nearly $70 million in legal fees under a new Georgia law that allows defendants to recover their legal costs when a prosecutor is removed from a case. This request arises from the collapse of the extensive 2023 racketeering indictment, which accused Trump and over a dozen associates of engaging in a coordinated effort to overturn the results of the Georgia's 2020 presidential election. A Black Virginia Chick-fil-A owner is going viral after sharing a moment that she says shows how often women's authority is questioned. Shalita Meadows, an owner of a Chick-fil-A in Chesapeake, says when a locksmith arrived to do the work at her restaurant, he refused to believe she was the owner, even though her name tag read owner operator. Meadows says that the locksmith insisted that the person
who called him was a man and even phoned her husband to confirm. Now, her husband quickly set the record straight, telling him, "Sir, that's not my restaurant. That's my wife's restaurant." Now, Meadows later shared this story on TikTok with a message for women: don't shrink yourself in rooms you help build. A new lawsuit claims that the Memphis Grizzlies have been replacing Black security officers with white officers. In a complaint filed in federal court in Tennessee, former security employee Godfrey Howard states that he was fired in 2023 and subsequently overlooked for a promotion that was given to a younger white man. Howard asserts that he had never been disciplined or written up during his time with the organization. The lawsuit alleges that this shift began after a new director of team security was hired in 2023, claiming that Black officers have been gradually phased out of their positions since that time.
Welcome back to Roland Unfiltered. Hey, be sure to watch Brittany Noble and The Breakdown every day, noon Eastern, right here on Roland Martin on the Black Star Network, so be sure to check it out. I was talking, when I mentioned to Congresswoman Beatty about what's happening in Iran, I mean, absolutely insane. And y'all remember these little fools were talking about, oh, man, we're going to have oil down to $40 a barrel, and we're going to do this here. Charles Gasparino, CNBC, he been talking all that trash against me on Twitter. What you got to say now, dog, when your boy's screwing this thing up? No, I saw this article in the New York Times where they said how the Team Trump weren't expecting Iran to respond the way that they have. And this is what, and then this whole deal like, oh, yeah, we're going to get to pick their leader. In what world did they think the Iranians were going to allow Washington to pick the leader of Iran? This is not Mossadegh in 1953. We tried that already, and that led to the Shah of Iran, which is why they pissed off with us to this day right now. It kills me, all these people who have no idea, listen to these idiots. A grossly incompetent Secretary of Defense, a grossly incompetent Vice President, and a fool sitting in the Oval Office. They just thought, oh, yeah, Iran, they're just going to roll over and just hand us their country because we're going to come in with the military.
I told your audience last year, Iran ain't no punk. That was my exact quote. And what I meant by that was, it's a reason. There was a creator that made a very funny video about how past presidents go around Iran for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like they are about it, and they have shown it. And this was one of the things I have been talking about since they went in June 2025. It's a reason why the JCPOA, it's a reason why the Iran nuclear deal even existed in the first place. Iran is a unique country in that region, size, population, certain capabilities. They're kind of theocratic worldview of the world. And that's another part of this that we don't talk enough about, that yes, their leader, their political leader is gone, so is their spiritual leader. And that isn't something that the Iranian people are going to forget anytime soon. And if people pay attention to me, they know how I feel about regime change, which you were talking about earlier, Roland. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And it definitely does not work with Curly, Larry, and Mo. And Mo being the Secretary of State, and I know for a fact he knows better. And I know for a fact that man cannot look himself in the mirror when he goes home at night, because he knows better. He knows how government works. He's seen effective governance, but he is too busy bending over for Trump. He should be ashamed of himself.
When Coney, I saw this one video where this fool was like, oh my God, the price of fertilizers growing up. Now the dumbass farmers, you got hit by soybeans. Now the cost of fertilizer has now gone up 30% because of what this fool is doing. But they voted for him. That's their man in Washington.
And it's no surprise. And unfortunately, the prices are going to continue to climb. None of the American people wanted this war. And that's the sick and scary part about it. And meanwhile, 3.2 million people are displaced across Iran due to these U.S.-Israeli attacks. As Nola said, I mean, when are we going to really be able to look ourselves in the mirror as a nation to know what we're doing it's criminal? You know what I'm saying? I think the United States and Israel have continued to tag team the people of Iran. They've done it against the wishes of the United States people. and they've continued to commit humanitarian atrocities abroad. At some point, the chickens are going to come home to roost, and the economy is just the tip of the iceberg here, Roland.
Reese?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is just a disaster. Donald Trump constantly manufactures issues where there are none, and then he comes up with the worst possible fucking solutions to those issues. Iran was negotiating, they were at the negotiating table with Steve Witkoff, who is the de facto Secretary of State, and they said, they were clear, they were not trying to get nuclear weapons. I thought that Donald Trump claimed to obliterate the nuclear weapons capability that they had. And yet Donald Trump is bloodthirsty, and he got his marching orders from Bibi Netanyahu. And it also helps that his, as Erica Savage puts it, Vladdy Daddy wants Russian oil to be sold again without U.S. sanctions or without the harsh penalties for countries that are buying Russian oil. And so everybody wins in terms of who Donald Trump answers to, except for the American people. And this is only going to escalate because there are a number of issues at play here that are driving up the cost of oil. You have the markets. The markets are trying to price in what's going to happen with the oil. And that's why the price has skyrocketed, then it's come down and then it goes back up because they're trying to game out how long does this last. But this administration will not put forth a coherent timeline or even exit strategy. It's just whatever the hell Donald Trump feels like it. And then you have the insurance market that is basically hiking up the price of insuring these vessels going through the Strait of Hormuz that these carriers cannot afford to actually do business in there. And so you do not have cargo and you do not have oil being moved through the Strait of Hormuz. And then you're going to eventually run out of the supply because even though they're releasing oil reserves in the United States and in Europe, there's only so much in reserve. And so once all of these factors become untenable, we're going to really be in deep shit with these prices. They're already going up high now, but they're going to explode in such an astronomical way that nobody can conceive of. And then maybe you might get people out to protest. And it doesn't have to be a No Kings event where everybody gets a text message and everybody come on there and they wear their pink pussy hats and now we're sitting up here. Go get Donald Trump out of office. No. When people can't put food on their table, when they can't put gas in their car, when they can't get from point A to point B, I think that might be how bad it has to get before anybody cares. I shouldn't say anybody, before a majority of the country cares.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we're going to a quick break. We come back. Our Shop Black Star Network Marketplace segment. Back in a moment.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, y'all. So I got a mama, 3 sisters. I got 9 nieces. And all these women in my family got hair. They got lots of hair. Now imagine you got braids and you are trying to sit here and detangle. Well, my next guest has this company here. It's called the Untangler. Okay, let me show you what this looks like. Okay, so this is what the unbraider looks like. That's right. This is the unbraider. That's right here. Pretty cool brush, actually heavy-duty brush as well. Of course, this is the spray as well. And so joining us right now to talk about this is Khadija Imara, CEO and co-founder of the original Unbraider, joining us from Chicago. Okay, first of all, where does the idea come from? What happened? What you're trying to take your braids out and it was like taking too damn long. Tell me how you got to this point.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I actually can't take full credit. My mother was the inventor of the tool. She was
your mama was trying to do your hair. She like, this is just too much work. This is too much work.
Not only my braids, but she had my sister. She had her braids, and we also had other sisters in the family. So we had about 5 girls in the family. And every summer we would get our hair braided and get to go to summer camp, swim, do all the things. And then she had 5 heads of braids to take down. And each head is taking 4, 5, 6 hours, depending on the braid size. And so she was just fed up and was like, there has to be a better way. We're doing, lines of us and taking out the braids with forks and rat tail combs and whatever we could find. And she said, why doesn't somebody invent something to make something better for this? And it dawned on her that she was waiting for someone else to solve her problem. And she took initiative and she took action and she created the original braider, and she launched it back in 2004. And we had it for a few years, and I was a kid going to hair shows with her, doing all of the runs in the mall, and we would sell at the kiosk in the middle of the mall. And then her mother got diagnosed with terminal cancer, and so she had to put it down. And I actually relaunched the company in 2023, and we had the first version of the tool. And together, in the first year, we came out with this version of it and launched that in 2024. So we are now celebrating our 3rd anniversary of the relaunch, but it was something that went from frustration to innovation on my mother's behalf.
So how many different braids can be untangled at one time with this tool?
Okay, so if you have smaller braids like my size, you're going to use this portion of the tool.
Got it.
You can get anywhere from 4 to 7 braids at one time. And then if you flip it over, as you work your way up the braid, as it gets larger, you're going to flip it over and use this longer piece. And that's going to be able to help you get through those thicker braids. If you have larger braids, the medium, larger braids, you're going to do anywhere from 2 to 4 braids comfortably.
Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. When Coney, I bet you're like, man, I need to get this tool quickly.
I actually wanted to know, as someone who has locks, if I should ever want to untangle my locks, does it work on locks as well?
It does. It does.
You stole my question.
We have had
Lots of
customers
locks
use
is
it
on
on
the
their
panel.
locks. We've had customers use it on their locks, their children's locks, and they've detangled and unlocked their hair.
Wow.
So it works in
Awesome.
both braids and locks.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Nola?
Thank you so much.
This is just so amazing. Like, oh my God, mothers and grandmothers everywhere are sighing because of this amazing tool. So I guess the question that I have is like, what are customers saying? Like, what is the feedback been? Is it easy to use, or do you have to get a feel for it first? What are customers saying?
So we thrive off of our feedback. The reason why this is the second version of the tool is the first version, the one that my mother originally created, our customers found that it wasn't as easy to take down larger braids. And so that's where we came out and we redesigned it and to have multiple columns to make sure that the thicker braids, thicker hair can be able to utilize the product. And then from there, recently, as we went down the rabbit hole of braiding hair, sometimes people were having trouble with tangles and knots as they were working their way up the braids. And so, looking at how synthetic braiding hair is made, it's essentially plastic. And so the natural detanglers that are on the market are for natural hair, and they're not made for synthetic fibers like the braiding hair. And so that's where we came out with the Untangler, which is launching, and all of your viewers will have first access to it. But we made a detangler that's specifically designed and developed for the synthetic fibers of the braiding hair. And so that way they can have an easier time and better experience with our product. So we've taken in their feedback, made sure that we did our research, worked with experts, and to give them a better experience and a better product. Everything has its bumps and bruises, and to try something new that we've all done takedowns for decades, switching to something new will be a little bit of a learning curve. But that's why we always tell people start with 1 or 2 braids, because you get excited and you want to do the 4, 5, 6 braids at a time. But starting with 1, learning how you like to use the tool, whether you're holding the handle at the top or at the lower end, how many braids work best for your hair are things that the customer starts with, and then they work their way through their head. And by the end of their first experience, they should have a feel and a grasp for it.
Reese.
I noticed that your product is called the Original Unbraider. So are there imposters on the market, and why should somebody be sure to choose your product as opposed to others that kind of had the same concept or have kind of ripped off your concept?
So my mother thought ahead, and she knew that this was something that someone hadn't solved, but once she solved it, they might want to jump on board. And so she named it the Original Unbraider, so that way it will always be and known to be the first of its kind. Our competitors have not arrived. We are first to market. But the alternative is using your hands, which is tiring and very long. And the second option is to use a rat tail comb. The difference between our product and the rat tail comb is the rat tail comb wasn't designed to take down braids. So it's very flimsy. And I think we've all been there where we've had a comb, a brush, a hair tie break on us because of the thickness of our hair. And so our tool was designed to make sure that it can be durable for a lasting time. And so when we relaunched in 2023, we actually had customers who purchased from my mother in 2004, 2005, 2006, and said, I still have my Unbraider. So that is what we made it to be designed so that it's durable. It can get through the braiding hair, and it can get through your natural hair without causing damage or without causing breakage, which you'll find using a rat tail comb, using a fork, or other methods.
All right, folks, so we've got the Original Unbraider. We've got the Untangler. If you want to get the products, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Go to our marketplace segment. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Go to marketplace. And you will see these products right there. You can get them when you support Khadijah's products. You also support this show as well. And so please do so. Khadijah, we appreciate you being with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right then, folks. Again, so let me say it again. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. And so you can support Khadijah's product. Go show it again. They show the products. You can support her product, and all these products you see right here. These are all Black-owned products that you can tap into that are in our marketplace. So please do so. And again, when you support them, you support us as well. Let me also do a shout out today. Folks, listen, we're always recognizing folks, and I always do it. Let me do this right now. He's a bad brother right here. You see him in the middle here. That's right. Andrew Young, Ambassador Andrew Young, former mayor of Atlanta. This just Dr. King Lieutenant turned 94 years old today. He was supposed to join us. He's gotten folks all around the world who have been wishing him birthday greetings, hanging out with him. So wanted to give my alpha brother Andrew Young a great shout out. Turned 94 years old today, and we thank him for all of his years of service. And listen, y'all want to talk about somebody being older, getting around? Andrew Young travel harder than I do. He gonna be somewhere in that scooter. He gonna show up. He gonna hold court. He gonna do his thing, even at the age of 94. So we're happy birthday to him. Let me thank Reese. Let me thank Win Cooney and Nola for being on today's show. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, support the work that we do. Join our Breen and Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible to do the work that we do. And listen, we had issues with our streaming device, issues with audio. I can guarantee you that stuff is going to get fixed because I cannot stand issues like this here, especially when we've made a massive investment to upgrade our infrastructure. So I guarantee you that's going to get fixed. Trust me. So if y'all want to support the work that we do, join our Breen and Funk fan club. Checks and money. You want to use Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. It's for credit cards as well. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered, Venmo, RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download our app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. You want to get our gear? Roland Martin Unfiltered, Black Star Network swag. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. T-shirts, wall art, all that good stuff. And again, support the black-owned products there in our marketplace segment at shopblackstarnetwork.com. All the products you see right here on the table, you can do that. And, of course, be sure to download the app Fan Base. Get that. And be sure to listen to Brittany Noble tomorrow, noon Eastern, right here in Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Coming up right now, Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Jade Hilton. You don't want to miss that. I'll see y'all tomorrow.